Good day. We're going to take a look at a little technique to improve the ability of using content-aware fill on a project here in Photoshop. I ran across this when I was on the web looking at some tutorials from the Adobe folks, and this was from an Adobe evangelist. And I wanted to pass it on to you because it's a phenomenal technique to use with content-aware fill. As you can see here, I have a photograph of a brick wall with a window in it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the canvas on the right hand side, and then I want to fill that with some of the brick. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my layers panel, and I'm going to come over to the little padlock icon here on the layers panel. I'm going to press on that. I'm going to drag it down to the trash, and that's a simple way to turn that background into a layer 0 so I can perform some operations on it like a regular layer. Next, I'm going to hide or collapse my layers panel. I'm going to come over and get my crop tool, and I'm going to drag around my existing canvas. Now here's another slick trick. You can go ahead and press on this canvas frame, and I can extend it out. And if I hit the enter key now, Photoshop will automatically extend the canvas that size with the background color. So now what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my selection tool up here, the rectangular marquee, keyboard shortcut of M, and I'm going to draw out a selection marquee partially getting a hold of the brick here on the left hand side, and then I'm going to have that fill with content aware. Under the edit menu we have the fill command, and it's also Shift F5. What we'll do is we'll do content aware and we'll click OK. And you've probably done this before. If you haven't, it's a fabulous way to have Photoshop attempt to fill that area in. Well, you can see it did fill it in. It did do a phenomenal job, except I don't want the window. So I just want the brick. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undo that. I'm going to go under Edit and I'm going to undo Fill. The way I can have Photoshop just use specific parts to do the content aware fill is what I learned about from this evangelist. I'm going to deselect this with Control or Command D, and I'm going to take my selection tool, and over here in the selection marquee, the keyboard shortcut for the rectangular marquee is M. You can see the elliptical marquee is the same command. Now you might not know this, but if you have that tool selected by hitting M on the keyboard, and then if you want to go Shift M, you can actually swap or switch between the hidden tools. So I can hit Shift M and it will cycle between the rectangular marquee and the elliptical marquee. Now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to press and drag out a selection marquee around the window as best I can. It's pretty hard to see now in CS5. They've made the highlight or marching ants pretty thin. And I'm going to hold the space bar down, and when I do, I'm keeping my mouse button down, I'm holding the space bar. I'm able to reposition this on the fly, and then I can get it just around the area I want. So if you ever have to reposition a selection marquee on the fly, keep the mouse down and hold the space bar, then you can reposition it, and then you let up. That's one of the things that we do in class. Now I'm going to let up on that, and that's the selection marquee I want. I'm going to go back to my layers panel, and I'm going to come down to the bottom of the layers panel, and I'm going to come down to the mask icon. Now if I just hit the mask icon just like this, it fills the area where I have selected with white and the outside is black. Well, that's not what I want. Actually, I want just the opposite of that. So I'm going to go Command or Control Z and undo that. And if you hold down the Option or Alt key when you click on the layer mask icon, it will provide a mask, but it does the opposite as far as the fill and or the white and the black. So now the area that I had selected, actually the area that's masked out. So now I can use that to my advantage because that unmasked area, the white area, is going to be used for just the content aware fill. So in addition to this, I can click on the thumbnail of the mask, go over and get my paintbrush tool, and I have black selected as my painting color. I can now also go back in and paint and mask out other areas that I don't want Photoshop to use when it does this content aware fill. For instance, I have these little round pegs or mounts up on the wall here. I'm just going to click on that and mask it out. I'm going to click on this one and mask it out. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger, and you might know how to do this on the fly from the keyboard. To the right of the P key, there is a brackets. If I hit the brackets, I can enlarge or reduce the size of that brush on the fly. So this is a quick way for me to change brush sizes. Another added tip to this, if you hold the Shift key down and hit the brackets, this actually changes the brush from being a soft edge to a hard edge. And you would actually have to watch up in the control panel as I do this. You can see it go from a soft to a hard edge. So with the Shift key down, I can change the softness of the brush edge, and without the Shift key I can hit the brackets to change the size of my brush. So I'm going to bring the size down a little bit, and I'm going to say I want to mask out some of this lighter brick, or this brick on the bottom that's more weathered, and I don't want it to use that within my content aware. So I'm just going to mask this out. And maybe I don't want it to use this part. Okay, so now that's done. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click back on the thumbnail of my original photograph. I'm going to collapse my layers panel. Now I'm going to go M. Let me just actually go over and click on my Marquee tool. I'll come over and get my rectangular marquee. I'm going to drag out the same selection pattern I kind of did earlier. I'm going to hold the space bar down because I can move that around as I work also. I'm going to select that area. I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut for content aware, which is Shift F5, or you can go again to Edit, Fill, Shift F5. I'm just going to do content aware, and we'll click here and we'll see how well it does. So now Photoshop's pulling the pixels from the area that's not masked out. So I can control what it uses to fill in this canvas. I'm going to deselect this area by Command or Control D. Now I need to bring back the area that I masked off before. So I'm going to click on my Layers panel here. I'm going to come over to my mask. I'm going to click on my Layer Mask thumbnail. And right now I'm just going to turn the layer mask off. And the way I do that is I can go Shift, click on the mask, and I can check my work. If that's the way I want it, then I can throw the mask away. If not, I would Shift click on it again, and I could go back and just undo and repeat the process again. So let me turn the mask off, and I'm actually going to throw the mask away. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to click on the little chain link between them, and then I'm going to drag this mask down to the trash. It says, do I want to apply the mask before removing? Actually, I don't. I'm just going to delete the mask. Remember, I'm not even using it anymore because I only used it for the content aware. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit delete. And there you have it. A simple way to control the areas when you need to use content aware. I've used this many times on panoramas I've shot where I have part of the sky missing. It's very nice to go in there and isolate just what I want to use to fill in for that sky, and then go ahead and have Photoshop work its wonders.